Hello and welcome back to The Last Word on Spurs. We are, of course, your multi-award winning Tottenham Hotspur podcast. Back in the building, Tottenham beating Chelsea, stoppage time winner. Is it a season of change? Listen, if it's the first time, you can find us on iTunes, we're on Spotify, we're across all major audio platforms. Thank you ever so much for joining us. A sincere apologies to those that were waiting behind the scenes for us to start. As usual, Jason was doing his makeup, so please forgive me as always. We're joined by three fabulous returning guests to Last Word on Spurs. Let's bring them in. Back on the show, had a nice breakaway over the summer, clearly working up a tan. TJ Romini. God, the amount of messages about asking where has TJ Romini been, you don't want to know. He's back in the building. TJ, how are you, mate? Lovely to have you join us.
I'm very well, thank you. It's lovely to be back. And I also received a number of messages from the Last Word community and from the Tottenham community in general. So thank you ever so much. It's lovely to be back on the show with these esteemed gentlemen. Can't wait to hear all the transfer chat. Jason's favourite topic. Joking, of course. Dear boy, I would never do that to you. Thank you for having me back. Spurs community, lovely to see you all. We're going to offer you a great show today, I promise you.
T Diamond, lovely to be back in the building. Also back in the building alongside, I've got Miles back from the Spurs Kings, of course, back here with us for Spurs beating Chelsea. Miles, doesn't happen often. Firstly, mate, how are you? Welcome back, because we are in our official 9th season, back in the building. Games are flowing, Spurs are winning and unbeaten. Welcome back, mate.
Well, thank you. Always a pleasure to be here. When I heard TJ was going to be on, I had to be here. But when Jason was on, I heard we're talking about transfers instead of the game. Is that correct?
Well, listen, we'll see how we do get on. We could get a bomber mid-show. Listen, we're not sure what's going to happen. I'm glad you didn't put me in there, Miles. Thanks so much for that. Come back for the guest. Forget the host. What does he know? Listen, what does he know? Back on the show with me. He's been with me the full 9 years. We're hitting our anniversary next year. He can't wait to welcome in the 10th year with me. We're getting married soon after this. Jason McGovern's back on the show. Match day only. Spurs are winning. We're beating Chelsea. Jason, are things changing?
Well, see, mate, but it was nice to beat them, wasn't it? Even if it was pre-season, particularly as it was a bit smash and grab. But no, it was. I quite enjoyed today's game. It was a much better test than the first two we've had. You could see where we were physically. You could genuinely see with a first team on the pitch in the first half, or a semblance of a first team, what we were trying to do. We had nice control of the game. We dominated possession, created a couple of decent chances, and I thought, first half really encouraging. Second half, desperate Danso decided to ruin the game for everyone with a bit of complete idiocy. And hopefully he's on the plane in economy class with Qantas on his own coming back. But, we had to defend for our lives, but in a strange way gave us something else to have to overcome in pre-season and nicked it right at the death. But just the one sad moment was Kyerematen, wasn't it, when he hit the crossbar? What a shame that didn't just dip under the crossbar. Would have been brilliant. But no, overall, good win, and let's get back to proper action in a few weeks' time.
Absolutely, yeah. Of course, that is the most important thing. Guys, just going to say, for the summer, the amount of support you've given the show, it's not been unnoticed. It's been incredible, the amount of support that you amazing people give us in general, individually, but also collectively as a group. I always say I can't do it without the amazing guests that make this show. I'm just here trying to steer the ship frantically, clearly not on time, or not in a greatest way Jason would like it. But listen, I try and do my best. I also want to say that ahead of the new season, I'm delighted to say we've got a brand new sponsor joining us that we're absolutely delighted to bring on board. Now, for those that have followed the show over the last, 7, 8, 9 years, I think, we've always tried to bring sponsors onto the show that really fit the community well. And that's why the one that we've got at the moment that we're really, really excited about, we're bringing you, is Black Cab. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about them before we do get into the show. That'll be greatly appreciated. Now, for a lot of people that watch this show, a lot from overseas and local fans as well, as everybody knows, one of the greatest challenges that we do find with Tottenham is not only getting to the ground, but getting away from the ground. And with this unique sponsor we're bringing on now with Black Cab, they are a family-run business of Tottenham fans. And what they're offering is the opportunity to get yourselves away from the ground as quickly as possible, to the ground as quickly as possible. For those that do mention, and of course do email in the show, for those that are going a lot from overseas and back into the UK around White Hart Lane on a match day, it's not always easy with general public transport to find a way to navigate yourselves to the ground easily and get to, whether it's pubs or get into the ground safe and sound. So with this brand new sponsor we're bringing you, it's a real opportunity for you to hopefully travel in a fairly decent way to the ground, get there comfortably, and ensure you're going to get the proper Tottenham experience overall, both for the fans locally and for fans that are maybe going overseas or looking for a long distance journey. So you can, for us right now, if you wish, to get involved with blackcab.com. You'll see there's a QR code on our show at the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. You can download the app. They offer you, of course, the most key things I would say, there being no price surge, no driver commission, professional drivers. And I think those are the key things that a lot of people look for when they're on the move, when they're traveling, when it comes to general transport to and from the ground. We're really excited about this sponsor we're bringing you. Like I say, for us, it's really important that the people that we team up with are community-based. It can really help, like I say, the general fans to and from the stadium and getting away as well. So please check them out, blackcab.com. You can find them in our QR code. They're also in our episode description link as well. And as always, we thank you ever so much for all your continued support for the podcast. Right, we are going to turn our attention to the game. We'll bring you more on them as well as we go. It finished Chelsea 1, Tottenham Hotspur 2, powered by a Black Cab. Chelsea 13 shots to Tottenham 7. Chelsea 4 shots on target to Tottenham's 4 as well. Passing-wise, Tottenham outpassing Chelsea just 4-7-6 to 4-1-2. Kinsky, the busier of the two goalkeepers, with 3 unbelievable saves during the game, which we're going to come on to and show you during this show. Chelsea, during the course of the game, created the more chances, being the 3 big ones to Tottenham's 1. We also had more touches in Chelsea's box, 18 to the 14 in our box. We shared the corner count apiece, 1. Tottenham edging possession against Chelsea, 53% to Chelsea's 47%. And Tottenham dominating the tackling stats of 14 to 3. So it was, look, I don't know if you actually would call it a smash and grab Tottenham win, because there were large periods where we showed decent control with the ball. We dominated. But Jace, we'll open with you, because for the first time in 117 years of facing each other, this was the first time that Chelsea and Tottenham met outside the UK, as Sydney plays host to a pre-season friendly that attracted a sellout crowd of 80,363 at the Accor Stadium on the Saturday night. We beat Chelsea 2-1. That last gasp winner from Richarlison, despite, as you mentioned, going down to early in the second half, 10 men following that bemusement of a attempted tackle from Kevin Danso that went all wrong. It makes it 4 wins out of 4 for Roberto De Zerbi. Sandro Tonali scoring his first goal for the football club as well. Thoughts on the overall game, Jason? Was that the first time really you could really judge what Tottenham's pre-season was really like, given the opposition we faced at this occasion?
Yeah, I think, when you look at it, we outpassed them and outpossessed them. And we were 10 men for the entire, you might as well say, the entire second half. So I think that shows you how dominant we were in that first half. Some good to see Van Heschke in a Spurs shirt. He looked comfortable throughout. Interesting to see Archie was still chosen as captain, which was it De Zerbi said afterwards, it's up to me, I'm the coach.
Well, 3rd game in a row, can I just say, Archie? 3rd game in a row, yeah. He's now captain.
Yeah, and having to play in another position and things like that. But thought Robertson, apart from the goal, looked quite good on his debut. Flashes of some good play from Matisse Tell. Dom a little bit non-existent, but no, I thought overall first half I was considering at this stage. I mean, I know it's our 4th pre-season game, but we're still 4 games. We're still 4 games out. There's still players, building up minutes in legs. We've still not seen your Dodgy and Maddison and Mickey van der Vens and obviously all the people back in London. So, overall I was quite pleased with that first 45 minutes. And, it's just second half became the second half because of one bit of stupidity. But, yeah, lots of pluses today, that's for sure.
And I think one of the key things that we've got to take away from, in terms of when you look at the overall team Spurs had out there towards the end of the second half, and that's despite the red card, that with obviously the 4 shots on target, the same amount of Spurs, despite, I say, having us down to 10 men, we had out there playing the last 20 minutes, Malachi Hardy, Rio Kyerematen, 18 and 21 respectively, Ty Hall, 18, Mikey Moore, 18, Luke Holdings-Barnett, 17, and Jamie Donley, 21 on the pitch. What it has done, of course, in terms of pre-season, has given Roberto De Zerbi a real good opportunity to see the youngsters up close and personal and really get a gauge on just how far some of these players are away from the first team. Has that been one of the pleasing aspects for you in terms of pre-season, that it does feel everyone's got opportunity so far, of course, bar the players that have been at the World Cup that are going to be reintegrated shortly back into the squad?
Yeah, definitely. I think that it's a concern that many of us have had. I think Tottenham have a rich history of bringing in young players and, you know, giving them an opportunity, obviously recently under Poch, and that has not been something that we've seen a lot of in recent years. And so it's lovely to see these kids getting a run out. It also sort of makes you question, you know, if they're not going to be given minutes, what's the point? You know, again, like, we have to keep reminding ourselves that, you know, this is a not only a business, but a fiercely competitive business. So it's lovely for these kids to get a run around, and not just for them to, you know, put on a shirt and kind of play with the first team and have additional pressure and all that kind of thing, but for the senior players in the squad to get to know these boys and get to play with them. You know, like, you can watch all the tape you want, but to have somebody on the pitch next to you and kind of, you know, say their name and receive the ball from them and give them the ball, and I think that it's really important. Of course, it's pre-season. I've said this a million times every time I'm on the show. You know, the viewers and listeners of this show are a terribly clever bunch, and there's nothing that we really need to be here to educate. All we're doing is discussing. You know, we're discussing, and so I think we can all probably agree that it's essential to give these young boys a chance. And I think, of course, there are a couple of standout, but, you know, it does look like we have some really exciting young talent. Now, young talent can often ebb and flow. We hope that they move in the right direction, that they continue to develop. But I think somebody like De Zerbi, I think he's the sort of person that young people will really gravitate towards. I think he has a very particular charisma to him. The fact that he's quite so no nonsense, and also I hope people understand what I'm saying here. He's quite a frightening individual. And so somebody like him can actually embolden young players and give them belief and encourage them in a way that will bear flowers. And so I was delighted to see the young kids get a run out today. And as we were saying before we came on the show, what a shame that it didn't pop in for Kyerematen. You know, what a beautiful run and a absolutely sublime strike. He knew exactly what he was doing. He picked his spot, and it was a lick of paint away from being an absolute worldie. So, yeah, loved seeing the young boys get a good run out.
Yeah, I agree. Mars is bringing me, mate, loads of you back alongside us here. Look, a lot of work is being done in prison to get Tottenham playing the brand of football that Roberto De Zerbi does want us to play. I thought out of possession, I thought we actually looked really, really good, especially when you think about the opposition. They're looking to also play from the back as well. So it's two similar sides in terms of the way they want to play their football. I think when you also bear in mind the fact that we might not have felt it in the moment when Danso did what he did and Jason gave his verdict on that right at the start of the show. We're going to come on the show that in and out to the audience as well. But I think it actually has turned out to be quite an incredible learning experience for a lot of those players, because to have that situation happen, and I didn't really feel like we were massively backs against the wall. I know Kinsky had to go on and make a couple of really good saves, but I think overall the way we stay compact and still often attacking threat and picking our moments going forward, this could be a real decent education, a way in which we can then translate this once season does start to really hopefully see this come into action. So what was your overall thoughts about the way the game did end up manifesting, and really for Tottenham go to plan in the way they did, pick off the opponent, get the winner? And as I said, 4 wins from 4 for Tottenham overall, unbeaten in pre-season under Roberto De Zerbi. Look, I know pre-season doesn't really make a massive difference in terms of, you know, results, but it's got to be good for the mood in the camp, Miles. Would you agree?
Yeah, look, big shout out to the Spurs fans in Australia for a start. I thought they were quite amazing today in the stadium. And you know me, I like to pick on the White Hart Lanes. So for me to be coming out with this, I thought they did. I thought they were good, excellent, and you could hear them. So they were excellent. But the thing that I'm going to take from this is pre-season. We are 4 games in now. 4 games in. Chelsea are only 2. So I was expecting us to be a bit sharper. And the reason why I'm saying this is because they've only had Alonso for 2 games. They're still getting used to Alonso. We've had the back end of De Zerbi and quite a bit of time, it seems like, at the moment. So, but what the impressive thing was about it all was that how the boys are picking it up and actually trying to get on with this game plan that De Zerbi's trying. And I thought, especially in the not more or less in the second half, where their backs were against the wall a little bit, because Chelsea had the quality. They did have the quality on the pitch, but we still managed to see out the game and do exactly what was needed. But there's 2 players I just want to give a shout out to at the moment, and that's Hardy and Donley. A lot of people are not talking about these 2, but I think both of them today did excellent. I think Donley, considering it's not his natural position to be in that DM role, has been excellent in every single game that he's been in. And I'm looking at it going, I could see that for me, I look at it, how is this going to translate to the Premier League? And I can see Donley probably, if he's with Tonali and whatever, and he can be in there, we might actually see a good player in there. And I think De Zerbi's already spoken about Donley as well, which he's really impressed with him. And he's 21, so it's not like he's like very young. He's at the age now where this could be the step where he takes into the Premier League.
How old is Bergvall now, Miles?
How old is Bergvall?
Is he 21 as well?
Yeah, he's 21 as well, I think now. Yeah, he's 21 as well.
He's been a player. Sorry to interrupt you, mate. But
Yeah,
he's speaking of sort of young 21-year-old. I mean, is he a CDM? Like I think again, we just don't know what his position is. Do you think he knows what his position is?
I think I think today, and with Bergvall, it's been a really 50-50 the way people thought he performed today. And I think De Zerbi is kind of set in stone. And that's the reason why De Zerbi is quiet. He wasn't over in order to keeping him from what we heard. Right. So
I'm not overly enamored by his.
I think it's because
attitude.
the way De Zerbi
I would say
to play,
his character.
Yeah.
He
the way De
seems to
Zerbi wants
lack.
to play. That's the problem.
He seems slightly entitled to me. I hope I might be reading it wrong, but if you're that age, you're not getting that many minutes, and you play centrally, and he is a lump. He's quite a.
I think it's more.
He's a lump,
yeah,
and so I think when he gets knocked over and stuff, he kind of throws his hands in the air rather than. I'd rather you just get up, mate, and try to get it back.
I think he's not comfortable. Basically, I think for Bergvall's issue at the moment, he's not comfortable playing the way De Zerbi wants to play. He wants to play with more freedom. And De Zerbi's not asking him to say, and at the moment, I can't expect you to play with that freedom. So when things are not going, let's take the first goal, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
It's his decision making there, right? I know it's so far up the pitch, but he tries to
you're
back heel it.
You're referring to the equaliser here, right?
The equaliser, where he tries to back heel it. And you're like, in situations like that, you've just got to be.
For me, again, he's just too many sort of flicks and tricks. You haven't earned the right to do that yet, mate.
Yeah, and this is the thing, and I think even when you watch Bergvall at the World Cup, he went missing in games as well in there. And I think this is the biggest problem that we're going to actually see over the next. It's for us. I think what we've got to try and it's up to De Zerbi really, because if depending on how the injury to Fernandes is how much time he wants to then actually keep Bergvall and get Bergvall to actually play the way that he wants him to play instead of the way Bergvall wants to play, because he's probably had the freedom for the last 2 years at the club where he can play exactly the way he wants, because that's the way he's been not coached, but that's the way he's been told to do it. So it's quite.
Sorry to take you off on a tangent, but I like Donley as well. But I mean, to Jason's point, I'm sure Jason will be talking more about this. How many players can we keep? Yeah, the maths, but the maths.
This is why
to math.
and like when Jason said about Danso, you can. But when you actually look at the way Danso plays, and this was kind of my worry last year, but because of De Zerbi was coming in and we had no other central defenders. We had no choice, and I think we go back to the Leeds game where was it Leeds when Danso gave away the penalty.
Brighton.
Yeah, Brighton. That was
right
the
at
issue.
The death. Brighton.
This was the
and
issue
it was
because
a huge game, obviously, for De Zerbi.
Yeah.
I mean, and we had them right, and
he can't play like
94th minute, 95th minute.
Exactly, and I think this is the issue that we're going to have. I think with someone like Danso, we have to make a decision on whether he's going to be the right fit, the right profile for what we're going to do going forward. And look, he's done it. He's put in an excellent shift for what we've needed over the last year and bit that he's been here. But is he the man that's going to then take us forward? When you're looking at performances like Hardy today, and I would have thought that Hardy had been playing Premier League football, and the performances that I've seen for him. So I'm not throwing anything up his bum, and I'm not like that. I'm not like that.
I know you're calm.
So it's kind of, I'm looking at him and going, there's something about you, kid, right now that I'm seeing that's different to some of the other youngsters that are about that everyone's talking about. So it's just one of them situations right now. So I'm looking at going, look, the reason why I'm not even going over the top with this as well, because I do remember last year when I went over the top when we beat Arsenal and we ended up winning the league.
In the pre-season.
Yeah, in the pre-season. So I'm kind of taking a step back a little bit going, look, it was a great performance and all, and it looks like De Zerbi was well happy. You could see he was so happy with what he saw, but we should be happy with what we saw because it looks like they're starting to figure out what's going on. The issue that I think all of us have right now is how is this going to translate when we actually get most of the first teamers back? Because that's the people that we really need to see. And I weren't impressed with Solanke today. I'm not going to lie. I weren't over and awed. I thought Andy Robertson, I think, hit and miss today. But this is what's going to happen with Andy Robertson, because he's at that age. And when he comes up against young, youthful and better teams, that's where we're going to have to try and use him a bit more better in this season. Because I think the last game he was brilliant, but that was against a weaker opposition. But coming up against Chelsea, that's why, and Jason's right, it was a test today, and seeing how some of them players were going to cope. And most of them came out, especially the younger lads came out, positive views.
Yeah. Well, again, we end the pitch there. I mean, again, we end the pitch with Hardy, Kyerematen, Hall, Moore, Williams, Barnett, Jamie Donley at the end of the game with 10 men on the field. Yeah. So that kind of gives you the feeling of De Zerbi letting these players have that trust. And again, I mentioned the point of Archie Gray. Archie Gray, third game captain in a row. And he's made the point, he could have given it to Ben Davies, for example. Again, but he's given Gray what he believes to be the confidence to carry on playing. I will just actually say, just on Kevin Danso, because we're going to bring in some of the highlights from the game as we go here, because I want to bring those in, because that will bring more context to the viewer and listener when they actually see some of the incidents with regards to Kevin Danso. Do you know what I will do? Just for benefit of Kevin Danso, let me just go there now. Let me just bring in the incident of the Kevin Danso sending off. Just that gives a bit of context as to why there's maybe a feeling of maybe some feeling Kevin Danso just isn't going to be the right fit for De Zerbi ball. Let's bring that in for the viewers and listeners, because I think this is what I think a lot of people maybe be concerned about.
Not sure he is. Not sure he's far enough back.
I mean, it's a worry when you see that, isn't it? Because of the fact of just how much ground he seems to lose on the defender. Jace, do you think it's just one of those things with Danso that maybe the remit has changed from last season to this season? Because I think if you remember, actually, after that Brighton game, he said on Kevin Danso, I can tell you for sure, Kevin Danso will be at Tottenham next season, as in the season coming up. I just wonder, because of, like Marlon has said there, he's named a number of youth players that have performed really, really well. Malachi Hardy being one that you've named there, Miles, as a defender, and someone that, Tottenham may want to keep around next season. Who knows in terms of the restriction of the age over a loan. But do you think, Jason, there will be a few players now we look at and think there is maybe a bit of a debate over them because of what we've seen during pre-season, both pros and cons wise?
Well, I think if you just judge it on pre-season, as bad as it was today, it's a bit harsh to get rid of somebody on the back of 3 minutes.
But I mean, do you agree that maybe the remit is... I always say the remit feels like it maybe is changing the way De Zerbi wants to play his football. You see what I'm coming from? The way De Zerbi wants to play from last season to this season. He's made it very clear that the football is going to be very different. There's going to be a bit more risk-taking. There'll be a more expansive way of playing. Can Kevin Danso get to grips with that way of playing? Generally, if we're seeing already evidence that he's struggling, and you're right, it's only pre-season, you don't make judgments of a pre-season, but it gives you an eye opener as to what maybe he wants to play like for the upcoming season. Well,
I think we've seen, I mean, just before he got sent off, you run that back by another 2 seconds. It's the way he let the ball under his foot, as if he took the ball off that, and that's what caused him the initial problem, isn't it? But, I think we saw last year with the Brighton goal and that, he's not a ball-playing centre-half. He'd never pretend to be. And let's be honest, when we signed Kevin Danso, we were desperate and we hijacked him from Wolves, not Barcelona, not Man United, not Aston Villa or something. We hijacked him from Wolves that were in the bottom 3 at the time. So I think, a battling type centre-half where the idea is you just go and attack the balls in the box, head it clear is the type of place that Kevin Danso, he'd absolutely excel in a Sean Dyche type of side, wouldn't he? That type of thing. I'm sure he'd be very good in a Nuno side, but it just doesn't suit us. But, I think when we did the original buy or sell, I said I'd sell him. You've got 3 centre-halves in front of him in Van der Ven, Senesi and Van Heschke. Ben Davies is now back fit, so, Ben Davies can be your 4th centre-half, and you can put Hardy in there as well and think, right, let's give Hardy a little bit of game time. So, he's at best he's our 4th choice centre-back, isn't it? And let's be honest, it's not a big problem if you sell your 4th choice player. I'm sure if somebody comes in with 25 million, they'd bite your hand off for him. And he'd probably think, do you know what, I'm better to go and off play. But, he's been a brilliant professional for us. His attitude and that shone through. I don't want to criticise the bloke for everything he's done for us, but he's simply not good enough for what we want us to be. And like I say, as a fourth choice defender, if an offer comes in, you take it without any doubt at all, because you've still got Ben Davies there.
Yep. Agree. TJ, I can see you maybe keen to come in there. Do you agree with Jason, what he said there about Kevin Danso?
Yes, I do. And what I really appreciate as well is how not only all of us on the panel, but everybody in the comments and the chat as well is showing enormous reverence and respect and admiration for Kevin Danso. Thought he was absolutely wonderful last season, and he was pivotal. He's a backs against the wall player, and my goodness, I mean, nobody could ever question his commitment or his dedication or his fight for the club. And you know, we were such a poor side last season and the season before, and we needed somebody like him. We needed somebody who was physically imposing and would give absolutely everything. In a season where many of us, myself included, looked at the captain and were questioning his dedication and commitment. So Kevin Danso is a lovely chap and has done incredible things for us. I just think that, to give him his respect, but also be honest, he's just not the right profile of player that we need right now. And so absolutely, to Jason's point, I think everybody would be best served if he gets a transfer and goes somewhere else. And I am sure, without equivocation, that every single Tottenham fan would stand and applaud him and wish him all the very best. It just, sometimes when systems change quite so radically, as they are going to change moving forward, and we can see that, this is the most expensive transfer window in the history of this club. Things are changing enormously. And so sometimes, concessions have to be made, and I think he may well be one of those concessions.
All I would say as well, just for defence of Kevin Danso, because I want to go to Marlon, then we need to go for a break, is that the pitch wasn't the greatest in terms of the condition of it. So I just want to...
Well said. Shocking pitch. Shocking pitch.
Pitch was awful. So you might have players trying to prejudge to move. And look, I'm not trying to cover for what obviously was a really bad decision-making moment from Kevin Danso, but he does kind of also say great work for the Spurs community. I know that's what a lot of people actually pointing out as well in the live broadcast as well. This certainly isn't a witch hunt because, again, pre-season will be winners and losers. I'll say it, for example, I think Manor Solomon in the 3-4 games, I think Manor Solomon's had a really good pre-season, but I think we all seem to know that Manor Solomon is unlikely to be a Spurs player come the end of the window. But I'm just giving you someone there that I thought was looked okay during pre-season, and I think he's been amazing, but I think he's done the job over the course of the 3-4 games. I look at, again, someone like, I thought Ben Davies had quite a solid 80 minutes in the game. But again, Jason's right. Maybe we can't judge it fully in terms of pre-season. What pre-season does do, though, it gives you a glimpse. It gives you an eye in terms of what you're looking for as a reference point going into the new season. And obviously what we are seeing, Marlon, in general, is that we are trying to change our style of play. We are trying to be a bit more expansive. We are trying to be a bit more risk-taking with the ball. And that's why, again, I think against Danso, but I just think, I'll go back to what I've said. I think the remit's changed slightly in terms of what we are looking for this season as opposed to last season. And the profile of players as well might just be adjusting. What's your gauge on that for you, Miles, before we look to go for this first break?
Yeah, no, that's true. The only thing I would say, and this is to go against myself as well, is that when it comes to Danso, sometimes you do need that type of profile in a squad like ours, because at the moment we're not actually free flowing scoring goals.
No,
so
fair.
And the issue that we're going to probably have during the season, if we don't sort that issue out, and we might not, and if we're not scoring goals, we might get to games where we're only 1-0 up, 10 minutes to go. Danso comes on just to shore it up if we're up against it and there's pressure on our box and things like that. So we kind of have to be careful in kind of sometimes. Even though we think they're the wrong profile, sometimes these players need to be... Look, he's one of them who's not going to complain about exactly the situation he's in. And I think if you've got too many likey the same players, sometimes you don't have... And I'm going to use this as... I know it's a good and bad example. It's Dan Burn when he came on against Mexico. It was brilliant. Okay, yes, against Argentina, it was a manager's mistake. But you get that sense of sometimes you just need that certain type. So it's a difficult one because... when you look at the squad and how many players we've got to get rid of, is Danso one you're going to be crying over if it means we go get a good striker? That's what we have to ask ourselves, because this is about squad building more than anything else. And it's just a difficult one because Danso has put in a good shift for the last year and a half. It's just a case of where do we go from here? Because we want to go from with 17th. We don't want to go there again. We want to move up a level. And it just seems to be at the moment where the squad is. We've got the defence, we've got the midfield sorted, it looks like, but it's that attacking three. But at the moment, we need to get rid of 4 or 5 players.
Yeah.
So where's that going to come from? And he's probably one that's going to, like Jason said, 4th choice, 2nd choice for the right side. But are there other situations? You've got Ben Davis still. You've still got, what's his name? I keep forgetting our players at the moment because it's so good to see him coming back from injuries that I've forgotten half the squad. But you've still got Senesi. You've got Senesi still to come in. Van Heck's still there. So you've still got Van der Ven. So, and if Hardy is showing anything and can integrate into the first team, you actually do, and he's a young player, you're not then worrying about the 17 players you need for the overseas quota. So that's the only thing. But if it came down to we kept Danso
and Byfield, don't forget Marlon
and Byfield
and Byfield as well. So that's what I'm saying. So is he now stopping a young player progressing? That's what we have to ask ourselves.
Totally agree. Look, we do need to fit in our first break of the show for our listeners that are on audio. This is not for we're not going to go there. I was going to go there, but we're not going to go there. We are going to hear. I was going to give a Savinho cryptic, but I thought I'm just not doing it when Jason's here. There's no point. Do you know what? I've said it now. How can I not do it? This is not for Jason's benefit at all whatsoever. But a young aspiring Jamie Brown wanted to send this into the show. So we've said to you that there's no real update on Savinho. But now what we're trying to do is we're trying to shout to him from the stands to come to Tottenham. So this is what happened during his friendly today, where, like Jason will back up what Jason has said so far. He obviously is no closer to a move for Tottenham. He's in a Man City shirt. He's playing for Man City. And even the fans are asking Savinho to come to the club. Let's quickly give you a glimpse of this before we go for our first break on Savinho being asked by Tottenham fans to come to the club.
Savinho, come to Spurs. Donnarumma.
I tell you, what a football club. A thumbs up there from Savinho, but the move not as close as we'd like it to be. Will it ever get there? Imagine Jason's eyes when we may actually end up with Savinho in a Tottenham shirt. I want to say a massive thank you to the over 12,500 that are with us on another edition of Last Word on Spurs as we enter our 9th year of doing this. How have we survived? I know I ask myself the same question every day. We're joined by returning actor TJ Ramini is back on board, as is Marlon from the Kings, and Jason McGovern is back alongside me. Guys, if I can ask you to do like, hype, subscribe to the show, and that, of course, would be greatly appreciated. A very brief reminder for you again that we're delighted as we entered from the start of the show. We are being powered and sponsored by Black Cab. Like I say, for those that are looking, if you're going to the stadium for this upcoming season, if you're trying to get away, if you're trying to get there on time, Black Cab are going to be there for you and will be there to make sure you get there safe in terms of on the way and on the way back. They're in our episode description link. If you hit the QR code, that will allow you to download their app. There's no price surge, unlike a lot of black cabs that you see around in terms of the firms. No driver commissions and professional drivers and their Spurs. What more can you ask for? Right. We do need to get into the game itself. In terms of the way Spurs lined up for the game, number of changes made by Roberto De Zerbi ahead of the game itself. Now, he did confirm before the game that Matis Fernandes remained out of a fatigued calf. James Maddison, we know, is struggling with a small problem. And Mickey van der Ven spent a lot of the time on Friday on an exercise bike, according to Alistair Goal, and is therefore yet to make his pre-season bow. It meant Antonin Kinsky started between the six. He got a full 90 in. We also saw, as we mentioned, Archie Gray, third game in a row, captain, this time at right back. But he said after the game that he doesn't like playing at right back. That was De Zerbi that said that, not Archie Gray on him. So Tottenham lined up team-wise with Kinsky, Robertson, Van Hecke, Gallagher, Tell, Gray, Bergvall, Tonali, Solanke, Solomon, and Davis in the team. And my word, what a bench this is trying to get through. Dubravka, Danso, Richarlison, Takai, Donley, Scarlett, Moore, Tyrese Hall, Russell, Denny, Melia, Kyerematen, Yang, Ajay, Hardy, Williams, Barnett, Byrne, Tingy, Ty Hall. God, I felt like a bingo caller there for a second. What a bench! What a bench to try and get through. Even Jason looked confused there. When was that ever going to stop? I don't think it was. If you stay on for the second half, we might end up finishing the bench for you. So, look, it was quite funny. Alistair Gold pointed this out of Archie Gray, that he was still getting used to his captaincy duties. And he left behind the mascot before the start of the game. So Archie might need to try and get to grips with that if he ends up being a captain for us in the Premier League. But look, a first Spurs goal for Sandro Tonali put us ahead. A lovely strike. Let's give you a reminder of Sandro Tonali putting us ahead if you hadn't seen it during the game.
I think it's Hato. He's got players arriving, including Tonali.
Well, Tonali, off the mark for Tottenham. A goal that hopefully for him will give him all the confidence in the world. I just want to know, boys, what we've made from him. I mean, Jason, I'll start with you with Tonali because I think it's fair to say, look, pre-season taking it by storm, but he's building up. He's getting minutes in legs, of course. No World Cup for him, of course, as Italy never qualified for the World Cup again. What did you make of his overall game tonight, Jace? And a goal, maybe, for confidence, that'll be good for him?
Yeah, I don't think he needs a goal for confidence. I think he's got enough confidence in his own ability, and I don't think a pre-season goal is going to do too much for him. I thought, fairness first, until the goal, I thought he actually gave the ball away a lot of sloppy passes and things. But, you know, a little bit of that is to do with the surface, trying to hit first-time balls, and it's coming off your shin or coming off your ankle and things like that. So he wasn't the only person guilty of giving the ball away on either side. But I think, you know, physically he looks a strong player, doesn't he? You can see there's going to be drive on that through midfield. You can see that the role that he's been given. So, yeah, it was an encouraging 45 minutes or however long was he on for? 60, 65 in the end, wasn't it? Yeah, about 60, 65 in minutes in the end. So, no, lots of pluses from him, but he'll perform a lot better than that once we get on proper pitches and once we're up to full game speed, that's for sure.
I mean, Amon, I think he was quite busy, wasn't he, during the game? He got stuck in when needed. Is it hard to really maybe form a judgment so early on Tonali? Obviously, we've paid a lot of money for him. How do you think he's going to cope with that price tag, Miles?
I think what helps is that he's played for De Zerbi before. You can clearly see he understands what De Zerbi's trying to do. And obviously, the rumours are that De Zerbi spoke to him as soon as the season finished. But look, no, it's too early to judge. I think he seems to be settling in well. I think it's the 2 games that he's played, and yet the concerning thing, and I think I'm with Jason on this, is that he does give the ball away slightly too much. But I'm hoping that's just down to him getting used to where players are going to be and things like that. And I know he did quite a bit of that at Newcastle as well. However, I think at the moment we've just got to take each step as they come. I know he's cost £100 million, but there's no point judging him so quickly when he literally come to a new club, and it takes time for these players to settle in. And from what I saw today, I have no qualms that in about 2-3 months' time, when we get to that first international break, we'll sit there going, "Oh my God, what a signing! Glad we signed him." So that's where I am with it. I've got no qualms, nothing really against it. It's just more a case of I just think he needs some time to settle in to the club and what is expected of him when he puts on that Spurs shirt.
I think also what you have to bear in mind, Tish, bringing you in as well, and then we'll go to Jake if he's keen to come back in there on this, is that I think his job was made tougher when you consider in the second half we lose Danso. So he was part of quite a strong unit that did limit Chelsea whilst posing a threat on the break. Now, he played, obviously, 80 with Donley replacing him. And I think an encouraging sign is that he and a number of the senior players who started and played most of the second half are building up the match fitness with a few weeks remaining until the start of the season. So I think Marlon said earlier, this is Chelsea's only second game of pre-season. It's our fourth. What do you think of Tonali, T? Just a lot of money for him. I mean, De Zerbi said, I think he messaged him actually after the Everton game. We stayed up on the final day and said, "I'm coming for you," which has been like a theme of De Zerbi in the way he's approached the players this summer. I mean, I don't know if that actually equates to tap it up. I mean, I feel like that's it's gone completely out the window, isn't it? That, I mean, the fact we've contacted a lot of these players through whether it's intermediaries or whatever.
It doesn't count if it's an Italian.
No, exactly, it doesn't count. What's your take, T. John? First time you actually talking about Tonali, are you happy about the signing?
Other than when I mentioned him last year in our Spurs chat, you know, I'm sure the viewers and the listeners are well aware that, you know, everybody on this show, we're all dear friends and we love each other enormously. And we have this WhatsApp group, and of course, because I'm on a different time zone, I wake up every morning to about 50 messages. It is a delight to read through them all. It's like you forgot a zero. You forgot a zero on the end there, T. And so I said last season, you know, not only am I a huge fan of his, he's exactly. We were talking about profiles before. He's exactly the profile that we need. To Jason's point, I'm not concerned about him. I don't think he needs any confidence boosters. He has a very quiet riz, as the kids say. You know, he's got a real aura about him. Again, people who know me will know that I'm an enormous Moussa Dembele fan. You know, he's one of my all-time favorite Tottenham players, an absolute class act who, unfortunately, you know, his body let him down a few 2 years early. And he has that quiet, sort of very silent confidence about him. Even when he scored, he wasn't, you know, particularly emotional. And so I think that what it looks like to me is He's come into this team. He knows exactly what he's going to do in this team. He knows exactly what is going to be required of him by his manager. He's delighted that he's come in to do that particular job. Obviously we all know the common expression, heavy is the head that wears the crown. I think that there are some people who really aspire to a position like that and actually look forward to it. And he's one of those. I think there is no amount of responsibility that we can weigh on his shoulders that he won't be happy to bear. And for me, he honestly just looks like he's pacing himself. Like when like a really talented boxer gets into the ring and just kind of feeling out his opponent, just kind of moving his head around, doesn't get, might get caught a couple of times, might throw a couple of jabs that don't land or whatever. But he knows as soon as this goes kind of 3 or 4 rounds and I've worked this guy, I'll just knock him out. And for me, I think that's what Tonali looks like. I think once the league starts, we're going to see the best version of this player, better than he was at Newcastle. I think he's going to be absolutely pivotal. And I am delighted that we are at last bringing in players of assured quality who will take us to the next level.
Fingers crossed. Now, it didn't take long for Chelsea to get level. Really poor defending from Andy Robertson. You won't want to see this again, but we've got to show it, unfortunately. And Esteval seemed to running and head home at the back post for 1-1. I will just play this and get the guys' take on it and what they made of the nature of defending for this goal, because it wasn't actually great on the eye when you watch this. Bergvall dispossessed, loses the ball. Chelsea break on us. And I think the concern would be just how easy we give up possession, the way Chelsea seem to end up in our box very, very quickly. Not many tackles really at all standing off the players here. And I just wonder, Jay, do you think I'm actually really harsh in having any kind of disgruntlement at Kinsky not doing better there? You said to me, Rick, it's from a yard out. I mean, look, let me make this clear. Kinsky produced 3 unbelievable saves during the game. And it's saves like that a lot of people will turn around and say, well, that's why he deserves the opportunity to be our number 1. And I totally understand and I totally get that. But I have got a little bit of a concern with the goal and maybe should have Kinsky done better. Are you going to tell me I'm absolutely nuts, Jace? Or can you understand why some fans look at that and think Kinsky should do better on that moment? And let me make this clear. He made 3 unbelievable saves during the game. I'm not denying that. 3 unbelievable saves.
Well, I think going back to the start, I don't think we got dispossessed. We didn't have the ball. Chelsea had the ball. We went in for a tackle and didn't win it well enough. It's not really dispossessed. Look, I mean, it's come from Chelsea's goal kick. They've just got through the press and forced it. But, we then don't do well enough. Van Heschke, you can see standing off, look, doesn't really close down, doesn't even raise a leg to try and get the cross in. I think it takes a little deflection then off of Ben Davies, and the loop on that, maybe the loop on that does for Robinson a little bit. But I think he's so close into Kinsky. It's at point blank range. Kinsky's weight is always going to be going in the direction where the ball's coming from, unless he takes a complete gamble and just, stands the other side. I think, yeah, he's got a hand on it, Rick, but when it's that close to you, I think you're asking a lot to be having a real go at the goalkeeper for that. I think it's one of those, you're really just hoping the ball hits you rather than being able to genuinely react and make a save. So I think if I look at that goal, there's less blame on Kinsky than anyone else.
And I can see by the comments, I'm getting absolutely shouted down saying, Rick, what you're talking about, you're absolutely nuts. You think Kinsky should do better. So yeah, you seem to have got the verdict on the thing. And I
think if Kinsky saves that, you would be saying, what an incredible save. You wouldn't just be saying, yeah, well done, mate. You'd be absolutely raving about the save, which tells you that the percentage chance to make that save, I bet the XG on that's pretty high.
Well, I think
it's 3 yards out and his header is a yard in front of Kinsky, if that. I mean, come on.
Well, I think some people think I've got an agenda against Kinsky. It isn't that I've got an agenda against him. I think you would say that based on how he's performed at the back end of the season in the 7-8 games, that he absolutely, Kinsky, deserves to be given the opportunity to be the number 1. I think that's absolutely fair to suggest that. All I am saying that is if a better option comes up between now and the end of the window, I could understand why the club would consider it. That's not to say that he shouldn't be Tottenham's number 1. I think when you look at the saves that he makes later in the game, he's absolutely earned the right. He's earned the right to be number 1. I'm not denying that. So, yeah, I mean, Marlon, do you have anything else to add on that? Whilst I get absolutely caned in the comments, pardon the pun.
Look, I'm not going to cane Kinsky for it. I think there's two people that in that part, if you watch the gameplay again, is look, Lucas Bergwijn actually wins it back and he should keep the ball better. But for me, the worrying thing, and I don't know if it's just because it's his first game back, but Van Heck should never allow him to put that cross in. Look, you see it there, and he puts his arms behind his back, and he should be going to shut that down. But apart from that, look, Robertson doesn't then, it takes deflection. Robertson ain't got a clue where it is. And then, you know, he's 2 yards in front of Kinsky. It's just one of those. But yeah, I think Bergwijn, and hopefully it's just a one-off for Van Heck, but we'll see. We'll see. Because I'm one of them. If you shouldn't allow crosses to come into the box, you should be going to shut those players down. So I'm just looking at it going, look, it's his first game back. I'm not going to do him for it right now. But if that's halfway in the season, then I'm going to start asking questions. But right now, they'll learn from it. I believe De Zerbi will get them around the table and will show them the mistakes they've made into how they've got that goals gone against them. But we are where we are.
He doesn't even try and block it with a leg or anything, does he?
He just literally puts his arm behind his back. And it's just, and I'm just putting it down to his first game back of pre-season. So I'm just going to give him the benefit of the doubt.
The pre-season goal. That cross doesn't make it into the back post if that's during the season.
Well,
everyone was a bit chill there, which is fine. It's a pre-season game. Even Robbo.
That's what I'm saying. I don't want Robertson to evade any kind of criticism because you made that point, TJ. Robertson also, if I'm having a go at Kinsky,
like that.
Well, if I'm having a go at Kinsky, people might think, hold on a second, Robertson was one of the main reasons why we conceded the goal. Just to be clear, Robertson just had to be better.
You know, worst case scenario, if you realise, Christ, I'm caught out of position here. What you're going to do is just try to take the player out and not make it look like a foul. He didn't even put any body on him or anything. I wouldn't read personally, not that I speak for the show or whatever, but in my opinion, I wouldn't read too much into that goal.
Okay, and Jace, just for balance, actually, because I'll just bring Robertson up. I think a lot of people were really excited by Robertson after that game he had against, I think, forgive me, it was Sydney, or it might have been Auckland, forgive me, one of the two, where he did have a really impressive cameo. No, it was against Sydney. He looked sharp, he offered plenty of attacking threat with his crossing, but then in this game, I think you said you thought he'd done okay, but I thought his marking wasn't great. He obviously made a costly error for the goal we conceded. Do you agree, Marlon? I think Marlon said he's going to have good games and bad games. Are you expecting that with Robinson, or are you seeing him?
Listen, he's a quality player. Again, he's got nothing to prove, right? He's won it all. You know, it was keep banging on about this, but it does make a huge difference. That pitch was atrocious.
It was bad pitch,
absolutely atrocious. And so, you know, here's a player that's played in a system. I mean, you know, he really kind of earned his stripes under, peak Liverpool, right? Klopp and. And so he's used to zipping that ball around. I mean, he was up and down that left touch line, and he was, Speedy Gonzalez, just up and down, up and down, up and down. And so that's what he's used to. Today kind of wasn't really about that. So he has nothing to prove to us. I think he's a terrific signing. And, if we speak about, old statesmen who come in and prove their quality. I thought Ben Davis was exceptional today.
Yeah, Ben was great for the 80.
I mean, this guy just refuses to age. He's just not getting involved with any of that.
You could say
you guys can all get older.
You could say he refuses.
Exactly the same, play exactly. He actually looks faster than he did 2 or 3 years ago.
But the funny thing about Davis is you could say he's refusing to age, or you could say that we're refusing to sell, or refusing to get.
Two things can be right at the same time, my friend.
Absolutely. Can I ask, just Jason, just on Robertson. How much game time, Jace, are you expecting him to get? Because Destiny Udogie, who is meant to be Spurs' starting fullback, who again is, just to be clear, wasn't at the World Cup because Italy never qualified, is nowhere to be seen yet again. So you do wonder and ask the question this coming season, how do you see, Jace, that left-back slot looking at? Because it's gone a bit more quiet now with Jed. It feels like maybe Jed is going to stay at the club unless... there's going to be something happening because De Zerbi did actually say, I say it's gone quiet on him. I'm only saying suggestion-wise because De Zerbi's been saying in the last press conference or two that he is considering his options and will be looking at different propositions between now and the end of the window. And then again, when you do look at the situation with Destiny Udogie where he just can't keep fit, just cannot keep this guy fit, how do you expect that left-back spot to play out? Are you expecting Robertson to get more than minutes out of the three of them there? What do you think? Two of them there?
Well, he left Liverpool because he wasn't getting game time, and I don't see him coming to Tottenham to play 10 games a season. And he's being paid, 165, 170 grand a week. So that's a hell of a lot to be an occasional player, isn't it? I think, a little bit of it is him settling into a new side and understanding new relationship with a new goalkeeper and fellow centre halves and things like that. I think one of the reasons he's been brought in is not just as the player, it's the mental side that he brings in, that little bit of, just in the same way Chelsea have just brought in Welbeck and Henderson in under exactly the same reason. So, but, Destiny has to get himself fit, doesn't he? Or we have to make a decision on Destiny soon. You cannot be going into third or fourth and fifth seasons and things still being unfit, missing huge numbers of games a season. So, I think that's partly why he has come in, to make sure that we're not left short. We'll see if Jed Spence plays a little bit more as a left back as well. But I think Robertson will play a lot more than people realise he will, that's for sure.
And I'm going to switch the attention to another player that I think during pre-season, some really, really like what they've seen of him, and that's Matisse Tell. We're going to play this out for the audience here because he had a really good run, Matisse Tell, where he cut an effort over the crossbar. Then after that, almost got a terrific goal where he jinked past 3 Chelsea players where his toe-poked effort was saved. Just want to show you this, guys, and we'll come off the back of that and get your guys' take on how Tell's performed during his pre-season and specifically against Chelsea.
She's through the years from Davis, and Tell is making a run for the gap. Asugo trying to stop him. Tell, what a run!
Now, it's interesting with Tell because he's one of those players that I think does polarise fan opinion. Someone like Tell may look at him and just think, is this guy good enough for where Spurs want to get to? Some are more, I'd say, a bit more chilled, as TJ would put it earlier, and are willing to give the guy time to adapt and give him an opportunity to really perform. Jace, where are you on him? Because he had a tough time since obviously coming to Tottenham. Obviously scored that stunning free kick in the game before, started again under Roberto De Zerbi. Seems to really want to be giving him the confidence to play his football, get great opportunities. But again, it's probably also down to the number of limited wingers we've got right now. Are you changing your mind on Tell? Because I think he was a player that we both said, actually, we did a squad audit. If the right offer comes in, we would sell. De Zerbi said in the summer before we went off for the break, he's counting on him. What do you think?
I think you see a willingness for him there. I think that little clip of him summed everything up. You get the good, but then nothing ever comes of it, or very little ever comes of it in the way that you want it to. Done all that hard work and then can't poke it across goal. But, at this stage of the season, if you were picking a team for Brentford tomorrow, he has to start because of the availability of others. And he has a use for the team, but whether you're going to get that consistency week in, week out from him, and you're going to get the end product numbers from him, I still don't know. But it's how long do you give him? How long are you patient with him to start getting numbers? Because it's not to me so much a matter of age. Once you've played 50, 60 games at senior level, then I want to start to see some consistency in your game, regardless of whether you're 17 or whether you're 36. It doesn't matter. It's the number of games under your belt, and he has to start improving the output and consistency. There's ability in him for sure.
And Marlon, just come over to you. Look, it's been a summer where Spurs have been non-stop linked with wingers, and De Zerbi's actually said that Tottenham are predominantly looking at trying to bring in at least 2 forwards, even 3. Mm-hmm. So in your mind, when it comes to Tell, where does that leave him? And is he still trying to prove a point to De Zerbi between now and in a window of a reason to keep him? Or do you think, regardless what Spurs do in the market, if they do end up getting Savinho over the line, if the rumours about Gakpo is true, they get him over the line, or I know they're looking at Marmoush, for example, do you still expect Tell to be part of the Tottenham squad between now and the remainder of the window?
No pun intended, but only time will tell. Because Tell's had a good pre-season, and he's shown glimpses of what a lot of people have stuck by Tell and gone, he's good, he's this, he's that. The issue is as Jason said, is that end product. And sometimes, and for what I call it, is his decision making. Because sometimes he just takes the wrong option. He gets himself into these good positions, and then he goes and does it. Because look at that chance he had when Chelsea fluffed it, came across the box. He doesn't even test the keeper. He's got the whole of Sydney to hit, and he doesn't even hit the target. But then he goes and does that run 2 minutes, 10 minutes later, and you're like, oh, and it doesn't finish it. So it's a difficult one. I've got a feeling that De Zerbi wants to probably use him against the whole front three. So he's like the backup option. If he needs someone on the right, Tell can do it. If he needs someone up top, he can do it. And if he needs someone on the left, but I think he knows that he won't be able to rely on Tell consistently throughout the season, and he will show glimpses of what he can and can't do. And he's got a great attitude. He's got confidence within himself, and this is what you need sometimes in a player. He's been up against it since last year when he missed the penalty in the Super Cup, and it's just been an up and down ride for him since he's been at this club. So for me, I don't think he goes anywhere. I think he'll be used
Savinho,
against the whole front three. Forget Savinho right now. He ain't coming. He's not here. We've got Tell.
He's obsessed with Savinho.
That was an admin mistake, by the way. I'm not sure what's going on behind the scenes here.
But you know what's funny is because when you look at Tell and Savinho's stats, they're so similar. They are so similar in end products and what they do. It's just that Savinho, or Savio, whatever we want to call him, is more of what they call a touchline winger, which is more suited to what De Zerbi wants to play. It's going to be interesting. All I'm going to say is, Spurs fans, it's going to be a ride this season, and I think we're all here to see what happens.
Yeah, T, just bring you in on Matisse Tell.
He's under 21 as well, isn't he?
I just looked him up. He's 21 while you chaps were talking.
He's not being registered in the squad, is he?
No. So he's not making an effect on that as such. But I mean, I just wonder, T, for you, when you look at the overall game, some good runs, ended the half quite well. Almost scored a terrific goal as well, that we touched upon. But I just wonder, generally, do you look at him being the starting winger for Spurs in this upcoming season, or is it all dependent on what Tottenham do between now and the end of the window for you?
Well, it's not only that. It's who we get returning. Again, to Marlon's point, we've got so many players that are injured. You kind of forget. Kulusevski. I mean, we've got so many players, right? Like quality players. I mean, these are already Tottenham players. And so for me, like what I like about Tell is that his spirit hasn't been dented. The fact that he even attempted that run and then got through, of course I concur with you chaps and with our viewers and listeners that his end product, his final decision, isn't the finished article. But he's 21 years old, and he was an enormously maligned player, almost kind of from day one, because he was deemed to be too expensive, which I agree with. But again, that isn't his fault. And so what we demand of footballers is their maximum effort. Again, those of us who can, sort of balance our passion, let's say, and some people demand perfection of a player. It's not realistic. He's a human being at the end of the day. But what we can demand or always expect is 100% effort. And again, he does give us that. So for me, he's a young man who is doing everything he possibly can to prove to the coach, to prove to the fans, and to prove to himself that I am good enough to play at this level. Whether that's going to be the case or not, I think if any of us put hand on heart and go, does he look better now to when he first came? I think most of us can say, well, yes. So he's trending in the right direction. I like him. I like his attitude. I like his character. I was not convinced of Bergval's character, another 21-year-old footballer who, for me, isn't working hard enough to prove to the club and to us fans that he really wants to be there. Matisse Tell is doing all those things for me. I like the boy. I think he's talented, and I admire his spirit and his courage and his character. And so I think that players like that in this brand new Tottenham 2.0 project are the sort of players that we should be giving time. There are others who I'd be not happy to see go, but I would rather see go ahead of this young man. I think he's got good character.
Okay, well, look, we're going to go for our next break of the show for our listeners on audio. Let's hear from Tottenham goal scorer Sandro Tonali, who netted his first goal for the club during that pre-season late win over Chelsea. And when we come back, we'll be talking about how Tottenham did bring us a dramatic win over the Blues.
It's only a friendly, but there's lots of smiles around.
Yeah, it's just a friendly, but I think after 5 minutes we understood everything because we fight every ball, we play very aggressive. because we start the game for win the game after 5 minutes. I think we play very well until all the first half, until the red card, and after the red card, I think we put 10% more in the pitch for win this game, because we start this week, after the first game we start to training for win this game. I think we play very well, we play with 100% concentration. The pitch was a little bit tough to play today, it was not very perfect, but if you put all the passion in the pitch, you don't have excuses. I think we play very, very well. We are so happy for today. We are so happy for Richie because he deserved this goal.
So there you go, that was Sandro Tonali there, the goal scorer of one of two that helped Tottenham beat Chelsea during pre-season, a stoppage time win. Doesn't happen often beating Chelsea. I don't think Jason's actually ever seen it on this show, so enjoy it, even though it is pre-season. We're joined by returning guest, actor TJ Romini is back in the building. Tan TJ Romini. Oh, pulled him off the sunbed for this. He'll be back across the summer. Saturdays now till September. Marlon, don't let that depress you. With us for most of them. Marlon's back from the Kings, and we've got Jason back as well on the show with us here. Guys out there, if you can, for us to like, hype, subscribe, that would be greatly appreciated. Brief reminder for you out there, as you know, that we're delighted also during this period to be sponsored by Sailey. I think TJ and Jason have the benefit of using this app. So when they've been on the move in respective countries, Jason in Thailand, that's a bit more exposure that we don't want to talk about during the show. But TJ's had a more of a pleasant holiday in Greece that I'm sure he doesn't mind talking about. They use this app wherever they go on the move, doing all kinds of things they want to do. They can of course watch their favourite TV programmes back home that they can't always get when they're away. TJ, I know you used it recently. I suppose it's a good little app when you're on the move, and also importantly, it's an eSIM. So
yeah, it was huge. Yeah, used it when I was in Greece and then back in the UK, and it was wonderful, very easy to do. And I mean, what I was terrified of is that, I'm going to have this thing on my phone. But, technology makes us all a little bit nervous. But it was honestly just like using your phone regularly. I could check in and see that it was using the data and all. It was great. It was terrific. Highly recommend.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Tej. And also, it's in our episode description link, 15% off using that code LWS at checkout. Right. I think, guys, we've done Danso to death. Not quite literally, but I think we've all kind of made our points on Kevin Danso. So look, we'll just see what the future does hold for Danso between now and the end of the window. I think that we all reiterated actually at the point of talking about him that we all love Danso as a person. We love him as a character. It's no slant on him, but it's just a case of maybe where Tottenham are going that they may look elsewhere when it comes to, the plans ahead of course, the upcoming season. Let's turn it over to a player that people don't think I seem to rate, but I'm going to give him his flowers, and that's Antonin Kinsky. Let's look at the stunning save he did make for Tottenham to ensure at the time it was kept at 1-1.
Pedro nipping in again. Great work from him.
I mean, that was one of 3 unbelievable saves, and it was that unbelievable. We've got to go watch it again.
Pedro nipping in again. Great work from him.
I mean, unbelievable there from Antonin Kinsky. Jace, coming over to you. Kinsky, you told me I was outrageous to even think about saying he should have done better from a yard out for the equaliser. So how much praise do you give him for one of 3 unbelievable saves that he made, especially that one there where point-blank range, it obviously was for a lot of fans, echoes of the save that he pulled off, forgive me, against
Sean Longstaff,
Leeds United, right? Unbelievable save.
Yeah, I thought he had a decent game. Like I say, I don't blame him for the goal at all, and made that save. The one where he came out centre of goal, put a foot out. I forget who that was. Was that against João Pedro? Can't remember if that one was against João Pedro, but
yes,
I think it was, wasn't it? So no, I thought he, a couple of times looked a little bit dicey with the ball at his feet as people were closing him down. But I think the surface had something to do with that. But no, I thought he carried on the good work that we saw from the end of last season. And I understand you thinking I want the presence of an out-and-out number one, but looking at the available squad list of all the foreigner slots, unless you were going to go and buy James Trafford, then it's very hard to put in a foreign goalkeeper without taking out.
I think just for benefit of the fans, just for the benefit of the fans out there that maybe don't know about that rule, do you just want to give a bit of context behind that in terms of, I'm not saying, and this to be very, very clear, I've said this now, I think 3 times during the show, so I don't want to keep overcooking what I'm saying. I think Kinsky, based on what he showed at the back end of last season, has absolutely, has got the God-given right to be given the opportunity as number one, at least until we get to January and we see what we've got on our hands. And that's why I think they brought Dubravka in, because Dubravka's a safe pair of hands. He's been in the Premier League for many, many years. He was in the Premier League last season. I think he played 35 out of 38 games, forgive me, for, I think it was Burnley, wasn't it, last season, Dubravka? So he's someone that's been in and around the league. That's why obviously they've gone and done that signing. With Kinsky, the only point I've ever been saying about him is that all we've heard suggestions of is that Tottenham may not be finished in the keeper market between now and the summer. That's why I just keep raising the question that if a better goalkeeper comes up, will Tottenham consider it? But Jason, you keep pointing out to me, and I think it's important that we say this actually on the show, because we talk about this off air a lot, that explain the difficulty now if Tottenham want to bring another goalkeeper in, which I'm not saying they should be doing, but how difficult that situation might be given the homegrown rules and how that works.
Well, you can just look at that overseas slot. So, people have to come out of that to go and buy another foreign goalkeeper. And it's all right to say, let's bring in, but you want to bring in Savinho, you want to bring in Gakpo, you want to bring in a striker, you want to bring in this one, you want to bring in that one. Well, are they all going to fit into those 17 places? So it's simple. I think people are online saying, let's get rid of Solanke and bring in Victor Osimhen, but Solanke's on the homegrown list, not on the overseas list. So, you can get rid of Solanke, but you can't bring in a foreign player just like that to replace him without dumping Kulusevski out, or without dumping Kudus out, or without dumping Bentancur out. So, it's not that simple to just dump people out of the squad. We're not even registering in that the likes of Vicario, Sarr, or Manuel Solomon.
Great point.
You're even saying today, keep Manuel Solomon maybe till Christmas.
No,
but,
just to be very clear, though, what I said about Manuel Solomon. All I'm saying, just so I'm clear there, you don't put words in my mouth regards to Manuel Solomon. All I said, I think Manuel Solomon's had 3 or 4 good games in pre-season. And I think if we're in a situation where we get a couple of injuries, you may need to consider keeping him until September, October, November time. That's all I'm saying. I don't think, with all due respect, with the players that we've got available right now, if we do bring in a couple of wingers, I just don't see where there's going to be the space for a Manuel Solomon in this squad. But all I'm saying is I think I have to give him his flowers. I look at him pre-season. I don't think he's actually performed that badly. And I think with Manuel Solomon, I think he'll be a really good player for a championship club. I think he'd be a good player for someone like West Ham, for example. I think he proved it a few years ago, forgive me, when he was on Leeds United. There's a player there. There's clearly a player there. And I don't look at Manuel Solomon in these pre-season games and think, wow, he's completely way off it compared to the rest of the players. I think he looks okay. But the problem with Tottenham is we don't want him to be okay. We want this club to be hopefully fighting, hopefully towards the top of the league. And with all due respect, I just don't think Manuel Solomon's going to be the player that's going to help us get there. So I think it'll be interesting to see what happens with regards to his future and where he does go. But just bringing it back to the game, look, Spurs, I want to ask about Conor Gallagher, because he had a pre-match press conference with De Zerbi. I think I do want to bring Marlon and TJ in, but before I do, Jace, you were quite critical of Gallagher, forgive me, against, was it Auckland now? I'm thinking
last games. Well, both games so far. I thought he was, again, bang average today. Went charging in for a lunatic tackle in the first half where you feel like he's off the pace, which is why he's going into tackles like that. You look at the goal that we conceded, he doesn't exactly cover himself in glory at the start of that, does he? There's very little quality with him on the ball, even in the 7 games we saw last year, where people say he played his part in keeping us up, but he played his part by being energetic and bringing battling spirit and things. None of it was real quality. I know he got the goal against Villa, but Jesus Christ, I mean, every dog has his day, doesn't he? It's the first bit of quality he'd shown and the last bit of quality he's shown. So, I'm to me,
he's not in your 3, is he?
If we're picking a team for Brentford with everybody fit, he's not in the 11, and he's not even the first or second one off the bench. He might be coming off the bench with 10 minutes to go, but I don't see what he brings to the team other than energy with a Duracell battery stuck inside him.
Do you think then, because Archie Gray's captained the last 3 games, and to be fair to Archie, look, I thought he's looked quite composed at right back before. We're going to hear from De Zerbi in a second saying he doesn't like playing at right back. Is he behind? Is he even behind Gray, in your opinion, then, Gallagher at the moment?
Personally, for me, in that midfield area, I'd sooner see Gray played than Gallagher.
Right. Okay.
In that particular... And, I know people say you can play him as a number 10, but I want my 10 to be a little bit more creative. The one thing he does is he's a complete hound pressing machine, isn't he? That's the one thing he gets, and he presses in the way that De Zerbi wants him to do that. So, you know, he has got that inside him, but once he does win the ball, I want to see a hell of a lot more quality from somebody, that's for sure.
Yeah.
He also, in that game against Villa, I agree with everything you're saying, Jay. In the game against Villa, he covered more ground than any player in the Premier League that season. And so his desire and his energy are actually literally unsurpassed. Again, I think it comes down to profile of player in this particular
You're right,
setup.
you're spot on.
I was really pleased when we signed Conor Gallagher because we were all so desperate for something, for a bit of fight. You know, we looked quite so listless and rudderless. And again, for me personally as well, we looked like a team that had no leaders. Okay, I'll go on the record and say I think Romero's probably the worst captain I've ever seen for Tottenham, ever. And so not just in his decision-making, I mean, there's no doubting his quality as a player, but just his decision-making and his ability to lead. And so what Conor Gallagher gave us in those moments of desperation was somebody that you could sort of hang your hat on. And again, all the points that Jason has just listed, his merits, i.e. his combative nature, his endless, boundless energy, his dedication, his commitment, brilliant. We really needed those. Yeah. But as we move forward, same with Solomon or whoever it is, we're saying, you know, you're okay, mate, but we don't need okay. We need, you know, what are we talking about here? We're talking about challenging for things again. To go from 17th to kind of the top 4, you know, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about, can we climb 10, 12, 14 positions in a season? You know, this is an arduous task. And so as much as I admire his spirit and that combative nature, I think it's like with Big Kev, like we love that about him, right? But do you have the quality, mate, to take us to the next level? And we have so many players in that position. Again, I think Bentancur will show us his very best in a De Zerbi system. He was already starting to show that to us again. And so for me, Conor Gallagher, I'm with Jason. I don't see him starting. I wouldn't let him go because I think you need players like that. And he's homegrown and all the rest of it. And I do think he's a leader as well. And he sets a good tone kind of character-wise. But quality, technically, does he improve? Or do we just use him as a battering ram type thing?
Yeah. It's interesting because obviously you look at Gallagher's overall game. He picked up the yellow early on for that tackle. And Jason, you're right. I mean, if it wasn't against a Chelsea player, I'd probably say that's quite thuggish. But I mean, I quite enjoyed it because it was against a Chelsea player, right? And he was 5 minutes too late in general. But I think that this is the thing, isn't it, Martin? He got around the pitch. He was sacrificed for Hardy after the sending off as well. What does the upcoming season look for Conor Gallagher? Because he spoke in the pre-match presser with De Zerbi about the fact it's giving him so much confidence and he feels like he's entering a really exciting season with Tottenham. Are you of the same mindset as Jason that he just probably isn't going to get a huge amount of game time in terms of starting games and it will be more a bench player? Because I'm not sure whether Conor Gallagher signed up for that, but then that's what he was at Atleti, to be fair, towards the end. Where are you?
I think it's his pressing, which is the biggest attribute to why he's in this team. And again, it goes to how it depends on the front three. Now, I think he starts. I think he will start the next couple of months because every single one of our creative player, unfortunately for Spurs, and it's not at the present moment, are injured. Every single one, every single player that we've bought is a creative spark in this team. When you look at them, Kudos, Kulusevski, Maddison, Xavi, they're all out. Every single one that we bought. So we're kind of stuck at the moment on what the next step is. So that's why if rumored for Cody Gakpo makes sense to why again, because they're looking for. I think it came from Tell's opportunity today. Don't quote me because I can't remember if it was Bergvall or him, but it was down to their pressing to the reason why Chelsea lost the ball. And I think that's the type of football that De Zerbi likes. He wants to be able to stop them coming over the top and being able to, because even for the goal, Bergvall's pressing, but he gets in front of him and he's just not strong enough. So I think that's where Conor Gallagher is going to come in, and I reckon he's going to start a lot of games I don't think he's going to be on the bench as much as people think. I think out of everybody, like you said, he covers the most ground, and sometimes we just need those certain players. They're not the best technically for what we know, but they're doing the bits and pieces that nobody else wants to do. So that's where my mind is with it. Look, I think he's bang average. He's a bang average footballer. However, the attributes that he's going to be bringing to this team and what Zerbi kind of needs and wants, I think is what's going to get him in that starting 11.
It's going to be interesting how it does play out for him. Like I said, a player that I know technical ability-wise it's limited, but I think it's whether he wants him there to deploy that almost press that we might want to do this season. But again, we have to remind ourselves that, De Zerbi's made it very clear that we are trying to evolve as a club. And therefore, what we played like last is necessarily not going to be the way we want to play this season. So, look, in between that, of course, we saw, again, as we mentioned, Kinsky, a couple of unbelievable saves to deny Esteval twice from point-blank range. So Hardy came on for Gallagher. Another gaff from Robertson at the back. He seemed to try and chest the ball, but he's chesting the ball back, ended up to go to João Pedro before, again, it was really well saved from Kinsky. Mikey Moore came on. We're bringing Mikey Moore at the end of the show because, again, there's potentially that he could move on between now and the remainder of the window. And we've got to talk about very quickly, before we come on to the winner, this unbelievable run from Rio Kyerematen in front of the 80,363 strong crowd. Let's take you through that and let you have a look at what this unbelievable move was and what really it would have been amazing if it resulted in the goal.
It should have been a red card, shouldn't it? Let's be honest at this point.
A very, very strong challenge.
Oh, what a turn by Rio Kyerematen. And into space he gallops here. Why not?
And so much so, this is how much De Zerbi loved it.
What a moment that would have been for the youngster. He had Sydney on its feet.
Well, he's got the manager clapping. He's got the...
It was an unbelievable moment for the youngster, wasn't it? Such a shame it didn't go in. But again, the kid must be feeling, really, really confident. And it goes back to the point, doesn't it, Jason? He came on for Robertson, who was quite shaky, should I say? And you know what? If that went in, I mean, what a moment it would have been for the youngster. But does that kind of exude the confidence, though? Even though going on a run like that and nearly scoring, the kid to be on this pre-season tour must be massive, right, for his confidence.
Yeah, and he's played He played the first game, MK. I think he played at right back and left back, didn't he?
Yep.
And he's more of a central midfield player as well. No, he's taken the opportunity to impress. He's not such a kid. I think he's 21, isn't he? He's not one of the 17.
He's more the older.
And you can see his physical development. So I think he's at that stage where he may well get a loan out, and then it will be, it might be like a George Abbott style loan, where I think it's going to be a loan with an option, like Alfie Devine did last year. I doubt that he'll come through at Tottenham, but he will have certainly caught the eye of a few people. And fair play to the boy. He's done everything that's been asked of him, and I'm sure he's enjoyed that, being on that too. It was great to see the whole bench looking delighted with it, wasn't it? So yeah, absolutely. A real shame it didn't go in, but. But I mean, on that run, I'm sure Chelsea would look at that and think, how the hell did he run, 60, 70 yards without anyone coming anywhere near him? So Agreed. It's not like he was having a slalom in and out, but no, fair play to him, and just a shame it didn't go in.
Yeah, and it was an unbelievable run. And T, just to come to you, just in general, before we come on to the winner, I mean, I asked you about it at the start of the show, I'll come back to it again. Great to see some of the young kids being given their opportunity, and you can just see they're just taking it, aren't they? They're not...
Yeah. Essential, man.
I think you said this last season when we were in this, that sometimes with a young kid, they're just fearless, aren't they? Because they don't know what pressure is at that age to some degree. And they're going out there, they're expressing themselves, and it's giving De Zerbi a really good look at their ability.
Yes, absolutely. And, some, but not all. And again, we're asking enormous amounts from these kids. And, Jason's absolutely right. He's 21. But again, I know we're talking about footballers, and so you go, 21, and, quite rightly, we're saying, so he's not that young. But, if you think of ourselves, right, regular human beings, as a 21-year-old, I couldn't find my own arse with both hands until I was about 27. And so these boys coming in and being tasked with these enormous challenges. And so to see kids like this, I mean, yes, of course, Chelsea are going to be looking at that and go, how did he run 60 yards unchallenged? But in all honesty, a lot of that was because of that absolutely Zidane-esque turn. He has no right to come away with the ball there. And so, Chelsea are pushed up going, we've got a good press on here. It wasn't a great pass out to young Rio. He's got no right to win that, use his strength, use his body, and spin that ball around and not put it out into touch and then go off on the run. And so not just him, but all of these kids having an opportunity and seizing upon it as the opportunity that it is, we should commend them for that. Because, again, I think there are players of that age in the club who aren't stepping up to that moment of responsibility. Again, we've talked about it before. Everybody on this show, knows this, not just this team, but knows this sport. And so, again, in football, you can hide. You can hide on a football pitch and you can make it look like you want to be involved when you don't really want to be involved. And so even just having the courage and the bravery to demand the ball and then do something with it is vital. And so I really take my hat off to these young kids for having the stones to step up, take responsibility, and to make a difference. And isn't it nice, when you see these kids come on and the dynamic of a game shifts, you're like, well done, man. You can imagine what the guys are saying to them as well back in the changing room and, then back on the plane and all that kind of thing. To feel like they belong, man, and to get their cuddles. I'm delighted for the kids.
And before we go on to the winner, just obviously I want to give a mention. Jean-Paul Van Hecker got his first minutes in a Spurs shirt. I think he looked good in terms of, calmness in possession. There's some physicality as well. You may argue, Jace, before I come to Marlon on Richarlison's winner, maybe gave Gittins maybe too much space to curl a shot for the leveller, and obviously came off at the break. Any massive takeaways there from Jean-Paul Van Hecker being in a Spurs shirt for the first time?
Just first minutes for him in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Just settle in. His calmness on the ball. I think his ability to pass through the lines. We always talk about how that's one of Romero's strengths. His ability to make forward passes is what's good, but hopefully he defends a lot better for the rest of his time than he did for the goal.
Yeah, and just to give the players a couple more mentions, we saw Tyler Tingey, what name that is, TT, coming on for the injured Kyerematen in the final few moments of the game. Kota Takai, he was back involved again on for Davis late on. He looked okay when he came on in comparison to his last game for the club. Luke Williams-Barnett came on, didn't really get much action in terms of really making a difference on the field. Tyhor, another one, he came on at right back to allow Gray to move into midfield, who obviously worked fairly hard. Mikey Moore, didn't really see much of the ball, Mikey, I'm afraid. Didn't really see much of the ball. And I suppose these are the games for Mikey to really maybe take a claim to Roberto De Zerbi as to why I want to be around next season, why you don't want to send me out on loan. It just simply really hasn't happened for Mikey during the preseason so far. We'll have to see, obviously, next week against Getafe as to how that does work out. Marlon name-checked him earlier. Malachi Hardy, again, did very, very well to keep the Blues out. I think that's one to definitely keep an eye on, Malachi Hardy. And we'll bring it to Richarlison. But before I do, people might think this is like, again, I'm going at Dom here personally, but I have to be honest. I think Jason, just for balance, Jason, you said it earlier about Dom. He was on the field for the first minutes of the tour. And, until picking up in the final, I'd say, few minutes of the first half, I've got to say he was anonymous, Dom. I have to say that. He came off at the break, and I'll be honest with you, having watched that game, you would have thought, did I really miss him? He didn't really feature Dom. It's a shame. I don't see what's going to happen between Dom and the remainder of the summer. But by all accounts, Zerbi's a big fan of him, so doesn't sound like he's going to go anywhere. Let's come on to the winner. Let's end on the winner. That's obviously Richarlison, who got it. Let's remind ourselves of the goal and the moment which Spurs sent Sydney into overdrive.
We'll see if he does something likewise here. Unless Spurs can win it. Donley! Oh, and Richarlison! They have won it! The 10 men of Tottenham Hotspur in Sydney have snatched victory! What a moment for those Spurs supporters down under. And
Well, there you go. That was the winner from Richarlison. And it's funny because straight after the game, De Zerbi's put his future straight into doubt. So whilst we're sitting and sad about Dominic Solanke and what the future holds for him, which appears to be at the football club, Richarlison's the one that looks more prolific out of the two and looks like he might be leaving. So I don't know. I'll start with you, Marlon, on him, and then we'll come on to Tej about Richarlison because, look, during the game itself, you would say with Richie that he put himself about. Listen, he always seems to be in the right place at the right time, which as a forward, that's what you're judged upon. He battled away And really, again, without seeing a huge amount of the ball miles. So is there again for the winner, Richarlison? What's the future for Richarlison in your opinion, Marlon?
It's the most difficult question on the planet.
But probably the most asked question in the last 3 years on Last One on Spurs.
The problem we've got is who at the current moment is showing more potential if they're going to stay out of Solanke and Richarlison. And from what Richarlison showed us last season and this season, it's more likely like Richarlison. But none of us want him here. We know he's not exactly the striker we want. And we know there's better players out there. But the problem you've got at the moment is that you are right. He's, for some strange reason, for the last 2 seasons, he just seems to be in the right place at the right time and putting the ball in the back of the net. When you look at our front, if you look how many goals we scored last year, we didn't score many. And Richarlison obviously scored, I think it's, don't quote me on this.
He had 15 goal involvements last season, but I think it was around 12 in the league, wasn't it? I think
12 in the league, yeah. I thought it was 12 in the league. I was going to say 12. So I think it's around 12. And you're looking at it going, but then Solanke's, the problem that we had is that Solanke, when we bought Solanke, we bought him off for the season where it was the most amount of goals he scored and the most amount of games he's played in a season, because his injury record has not been great before that as well. And the only time he's ever scored more than that amount before that was in the Championship. And again, that was like two seasons before. And it just seems like at the moment, we're looking at a situation where we cannot go, if we go into the season with those two and not someone else, it's going to be a long, hard season.
Yeah.
Just because the amount of goals, look, even today, we're not creating much.
No, you're right. Four chances apiece. Four
shots and this is the issue that we're all having, and it's gonna put a big hard. It's gonna be, everyone's gonna look at it and go, if we don't fix that front three or fix something to do with it, everyone's gonna look at this transfer window, which we've all been happy about, and go, that's gonna bring it down dramatically.
Yep.
But Jason will probably go and ask me, but who's out there? Who's that guy? Who is that guy that's going to come in? Because again, you're going to look at the players we've been linked with, apart from Gakpo, the rest don't score goals either. So where do we go? And you're just looking at it going, it's a very hard thing to try and fix at the moment, but we can't go into the season with the ones that we've got. Otherwise we are stuck a little bit. But it's hard. It's such a hard question. I don't really know where to go with it. But as you said, straight after the game, De Zerbi's put his future in doubt. So
I just want to double check that, because I want to bring De Zerbi's press room. I just need to make sure you guys have got 20, 25 minutes quickly to round that up, because it's about a 10-minute press. Have we got the time for that, T? Time-wise? Are we okay with that, Miles? Jace, is that okay? Because I think the De Zerbi presser does provide a lot of context as to a number of players' futures. But before we go, we'll hear that in a second. Let's get a gauge on that. I mean, T, just come to you. What are you making of this? It's your first show back now since the back end of last season. Are you quite concerned about the forward area for us at the moment? Like we said, I think someone suggested there, Dominic Solanke's got 12 goals in his last 43 games.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I will caveat that and say he did score. Jason probably told me, he says, well, he scored some big goals for Tottenham in the Premier League last couple of seasons ago. But I've got massive worries about him, because that's his first minutes of the tour, which then makes you worry. You're thinking, well, God, we can't keep him fit. And then he's fairly anonymous. I mean, I just wonder where the goals are going to come from. We've got to do something about the forwards, haven't we? We've got to.
Yeah, we do. And listen, Marlon's sigh that prefaced his response spoke volumes, right? We're all feeling that. And so, okay, so Dom, for me, right? So Dom was a player, again, that I really wanted to come to Tottenham, right? And I think that he's a much better and sort of more technically skillful player than a lot of people want to accredit him for. For me, the very brief answer, and of course I don't know, is he just isn't fit. I don't know what's wrong with him, but I think it's something that is actually quite serious. I also think that's probably, do we sell him? Do we try to keep him? I do think he's a major problem. Like, as a player, when he's fit, would I like him at Tottenham? Yes, but he isn't fit. So there is still an issue there. Richarlison, he was magnificent for us in the back end of last season, and we really needed him. And again, Tottenham legend is a step too far, but I think that he's a player that most of the Tottenham community and most of the Tottenham fan base will always view with great appreciation and admiration and an affection. He's a sweet boy. We like him, right?
Yep.
I would be happy for him to be sold. Because again, Marlon knows it, you know it, Rick, Jason knows it, everybody, all the viewers and the listeners know it. We do need someone else to come in. We need a number 9 to come in.
Yep.
I don't know who that is. Was it Krupi? He's now injured. Is it Gakpo? He's not a number 9 anyway. I've no interest in Savinho at all. I've no interest in Marmoush at all. We need a number 9. And so if we have to get rid of 3, 4, 5 players and then bring in a number 9, again, I don't know who that is, but I would keep Dom and lose Richie. But Dom's not fit. So we just have to get him fit, is my opinion.
Jay's coming on this debate before we just hear from De Zerbi. What's your gauge on what we should do with this scenario? And just for listeners and audio, he's got his hands on his head at the moment, or his hands were covering his eyes there when I asked him that question, which kind of sums up, I think, the mood about this forward line at present.
Well, I think De Zerbi's more or less said it, hasn't he? We want more attacking players. So, I don't think there's any denial that he wants better than those two at his disposal. So it's the problem is going to find them, isn't it? I mean, you just seen Chelsea sign Danny Welbeck. Victor Gyökeres was what, 70-odd million last year. Did he really look that great in the Premier League? He got more criticism than anyone than yes, he got 15 goals for them. But, every time he played a big game, people were saying he's not what they needed. So, I don't know. I don't know who you bring in. There's always talk about Victor Osimhen coming to the Premier League, but he's on about 400 or 500 grand a week in Turkey. So I don't see that happening. Are
we serious or not?
No, I think people are saying they absolutely want someone.
Yeah.
Rick. They absolutely want someone.
Oh yeah, he's made it clear he wants 2 or 3. They've said it made it clear he wants 2 or 3.
And by the sound of his, I think you're going to come on to his presser.
Yeah.
I think at the start of the summer, we all said, probably 90% of us would say, let's let Richie go.
Yeah.
It's the last year. I know he has the option, but effectively the last year. And it sounds like there's noises like that within the camp from De Zerbi's press conference.
Yeah, listen, let's make you wait no further because also we're conscious of time as well. Let's take you into Roberto De Zerbi's press conference, what he said after the game, and we'll react on the back of that and discuss what Tottenham need to do to once again be ready, fully ready for the start, of course, of the game against Brentford, which is now less than a month away. It is creeping. We are in August. We are, less than 21 days away from Brentford being around the corner. If you can for us out to like, height, subscribe to the show. Let's go for this final break and hear from Tottenham Hotspur head coach Roberto De Zerbi on how Spurs have performed against Chelsea and what's to come in the coming days. Let's hear from Roberto De Zerbi.
Who wants to get started? Ali. Yeah.
Well, I think we played a great first half. We played very well. In the second half, I think it changed the game for us, for sure, for the fans, and for Chelsea as well, because it was worse for us and for Chelsea, because if you consider the condition of the pitch very bad, and if you consider we are starting from 2 weeks, maybe less than 3 weeks, in the second half, you start the fatigue and playing, attacking against 10 players behind the line of the ball is tough for every team, not for Chelsea, and especially because we took a risk for the injury for the player. I can understand the red card change and a substitution come on another for the level of football for every one of us. But at the end, I'm happy because we have no 3 points on the table. I know very well, but we have to change habits. and we have to change habits in the result, in the doers to believe in the result until the end. Even we stay one player less, even we are suffering. The value of the result is important also in the friendly game, also 3 weeks before the Premier League starts.
One plus, obviously, he's got some minutes into some legs. People like Sarr, Tonali, Archie Gray got a lot of minutes.
Yes, Sandro Tonali. Yeah, Sandro Tonali and Archie and Ben Davis. All three, they played more than the plan was before the game, like Robertson and Lucas Bergvall, but they are good, and I'm so happy for the young player because Malakai, Rio, Tai, Kota, the other central back, they have been in this period very important for us. Very good players.
Last one for me, Richarlison. He's only got 12 months left of his contract, but he keeps kind of coming up in moments for Tottenham. He knows where the net is. I mean, what's the future for him in your eyes?
I don't know, because I like as a player, as a guy, is unbelievable as a attitude, behavior. But at the end, we have to respect what he wants to do. And we know, every one of us knows what he wants to do. But for me, he's still an important player because it's not so easy to find another striker as a Richarlison, because Richarlison scores goals and he knows the way. The new striker, we don't know. The other striker, we don't know. He scored 12 goals last season, not for lucky, because he feels the way to score. I don't know. I didn't understand well because sometimes he said to stay, sometimes he leaves, and we have to speak anyway. There is not any problem. He's a lovely guy. All of us loves him, the teammates, the club, the staff, because he works hard every day, seriously every day, and we can't say anything on the pitch.
Congrats on the win. 80,000 out there tonight. A lot of them very loud Spurs fans singing. Are you aware that, I mean, a lot of Australian fans and Spurs fans get up very early in the morning, 2, 3, 4 a.m. to watch Spurs play? What do you think about those fans and the atmosphere they created tonight?
It was an incredible atmosphere. We are very happy to make them happy and proud for us. My group feels the love from the fans, and every one of them, my players, want to give something back to them. We know in the last 2 seasons we have not played like the people want, like the fans want, like the history of the club says. But we are working to do better and better than last season.
Roberto, you made Archie Gray the captain in all the games. What's the reason behind that? Is that a message in any way, or is he a real contender?
Because I'm the coach, I decide. No, because I spoke with Ben Davis before to speak with Archie Gray, because the natural captain today was Ben Davis. Anyway, I think has been more important for Archie Gray than for Ben Davis, because he's like to give Archie something more as a confidence Last season I said is the future of the club, but also the present. Is important for us because he can cover 2-3 positions on the pitch. He doesn't love too much playing in the right back position, but I think to be a captain, you have to think first of all for the group, for the team, for the club, and then for yourself. So it was something more to give him because he deserved to be important for this club, even he plays in different position if he doesn't play in the first 11, but it's important, like Bergvall, because for Lucas I have the same opinion and same idea.
Can I ask you, on a human level, something very important happened yesterday? Mikhailo Mudryk, I know you have a very close...
Who?
Mudryk.
Yeah,
he can play football again.
He's another my son, and I'm very happy he deserves to play. He's a good guy, top player. Hopefully he can show what he suffered in the last 2 years in the next season, this season. Maybe no against Tottenham, but he's a lovely guy and he's a very, very good player.
Did you speak to Mikhailo during the last 2 years at all?
Who?
Parlato con lui negli ultimi 2 anni.
With Misha Mudryk? All time. I with my former player I talk a lot of time. Behind this room, there is Kevin Boateng, my former player in Sassuolo. He played in Tottenham, and he's like another son, no? Because the relationship can't finish after you leave from a team, or with Levi Colwill or with Joao Pedro. All people, I have to say thank for what they gave me. And for Misha, the same, especially for Misha Mudryk, because I left from Kiev for the war reason, and I left that team, that club for not for football, and it was a amazing team, amazing group. Maybe the best level of football I've done.
Just on Tottenham, it's been reported in South America that the club have agreed to sell Christian Romero to Inter Milan. Are you able to give any updates?
No, I don't know. I texted with Kuti yesterday. Yeah, this morning and yesterday. But for to make a plan when he has to come to London, but no, for the transfer market, and also is not my job. You have to ask Johan Lang and Vinay. I know there are many solutions in the transfer market, but I don't follow the negotiation.
Elias, and then finish at the back, please.
Was it intentional to build your pre-season tour around this game? It felt like the first half we saw an intensity that, didn't look a million miles away from what you might expect to see in the Premier League.
È stato intenzionale costruire così la tua pre-season in modo tale da distribuire così le partite, visto che hai dato molta intensità nel primo tempo, è una cosa che avevi già avuto.
No, I think, forget me, but the staff, the staff, the physical staff, this season is amazing, and we are working to build a clear plan, considering the potential injury, considering the minutes the player gonna play. A lot of things, no? Because now we have to work almost individually individually, no. Player for player, you have to create the plan. For example, was 45 minutes for JP Van Eyck, Solanke, and Robertson, but Udogie couldn't play, so we push Robertson 15-20 minutes more. For Lucas Bergvall the same. And now, especially after the World Cup, you have to manage in different way.
And speaking about Antonin Kinsky as well, 2 or 3 incredible saves in this game. How good do you think he can be?
Yes, I think he can improve in build up a lot. But he will reach for sure the top, working with the goalkeeper coach, with me. We create the training just for him to understand better the free player, to understand better the fair man, to understand better everything he needs, because he is very clear with the pass, but he can become faster in the decision and build up, because he has all qualities to become one of the best also in the build up, the distribution.
Okay, and we'll finish at the back.
You have a lot of fans here in Australia, and Australians love the underdog and someone with passion. How important is it for this season to bring that passion every night on the field?
I don't know. I think is for all jobs is important, the passion, because the passion is how you feel what you are doing, and when you how you want, how is important for you your work. I'm one part of myself is the passion. I think I'm normal coach, not different coach, but maybe I give in my work something more than not normal, but the other coaches.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, well, that was Roberto De Zerbi there. I know, a very long press conference. I just want to kind of give you a bit of context behind what he was saying about the likes of Lucas Bergvall, of course, Christian Romero there as well. And listen, thanks so much as always to the over 16,500 that are with us on this show. Closing us on this show as well, we've got the superb, as they've been from the start, actor TJ back in the building. We've got Marlon back from the Kings and Jason as well. They're back with us next week as well for our friendly against Getafe. That's behind closed doors. That is being streamed live on Hotspur Way. So we'll be with you during every pre-season friendly, and of course with you ahead of the start of the season too. Guys, just a bit of a summary there. You know, he's saying that Romero, they've got to make a plan for Romero. As things stand at the moment, there was talk overnight about Romero that maybe there's going to be this bid of 34 million being accepted by Tottenham from Inter Milan. I'll believe it when I see it. I've said this constantly about Romero, that I'm not sure if clubs have got the money to stick up for Romero, but I don't know what you think there, Jason. Just on Romero quickly, he seems to be very keen on the fact that they've got to make a plan for when he returns. So I just wondered, do you think the vibe will be, let's try and make sure he's not going to maybe disrupt the first team if he does come back from the World Cup? Do you think there'll be a plan of just maybe keeping him away from the first team?
Yeah, it may well be that he'll train with the under-21s, or he'll just come in and do his gym work when they're on the playing pitches and things. I think as a club, you're legally obliged to provide them training facilities and that. So it's not like you can ban them from the training ground or something. And I don't see Romero coming into the dressing room and bad-mouthing the manager or going around the team, oh, you should be off, you should be off, you should be off, and things like that. I don't think he's going to spread that much toxicity to it. But, you know, the fact that he was captain and you want to move on, I think they'll just carefully manage him, and he'll do most of his work in the gym, and then he may well do ball work on the training pitches with a coach separate from the main group or something like that. But I don't see him as they're going to ban him, but it sounded more like there could be movement, hopefully, in the next week or so.
Yeah, did seem to see that way from De Zerbi. Just also Vicario, just an update on him. Juventus coach Luciano Spalletti admits that for them, they need to understand more why Tottenham left out Vicario. They've also got Parma goalkeeper Zian Suzuki, who is being deemed as prohibitively expensive, but they are also hesitant about Vicario. They went on to say, this is Luciano Spalletti, that Vicario is an experienced goalkeeper who's already gone through some situations, one of them very serious. We have to understand why a club like Tottenham have decided to leave him out and what evaluations they make. So it doesn't sound like that move for Vicario is going to be any time soon as well. So we could be in a situation here where later in the window, these moves may happen. I just wanted someone like Pat Matassar, Marlon, just to come over to you. He's apparently attracting interest from Aston Villa as things stands. Do you have any issue, Marlon, doing business with Villa at all, who would maybe be seen as a bit of a direct rival coming up? What do you think on that for you? Would you be willing to let Pat go to Villa?
Not when it's Pepe Mate, so I have to be honest. It's not like he's contributed enough over the last two. He contributed in the Europa League final, but he hasn't contributed enough for me to go, oh, look, it's him, it's Sarr going to Villa, sorry. The only thing is Unai Emery, he's the factor. So that's the Unai Emery seems to somehow get the best out of players, but I just can't see. I don't rate Sarr as a footballer. I think he's got attributes again, a bit like Conor Gallagher. He's got attributes that another team might see the benefit of, but that's about it.
And the key thing is, we just keep saying it, don't we, Marlon, that we are stockpiling a lot of midfielders. So we're going to have to see some go. Like I think even Jason said, if you want those forwards to come in, if you want other options to come in, we're going to have to consider offers for the likes of Sarr. If Gallagher's staying here, by all accounts, Gallagher is staying here. And if it is going to be Sarr or maybe Bentancur, we've got to get some players out to get some players in, right?
You can see a loan, for Sarr, if it's going to be just so someone can see, it's going to be another situation for what the Juventus. They want to see, a lot of clubs want to see why these players were left out in a team that finished 17th. That, when you look at it like that, you go, you know what, you can see why these clubs are doing what they're doing, but it is what it is. But we'll move on to the next.
Yep, and moving on to the next, another player that we're expecting may leave the club in the coming weeks, and this probably won't be a surprise based on his pre-season so far, which is a real big shame, because I think it was real high hopes for Mikey coming over to UT during this pre-season. Hasn't quite worked out for Mikey. Middlesbrough are honestly leading the host of clubs in the race for Mikey Moore. However, it's understood that Mikey Moore is holding out for a move to one of Europe's top 5 leagues. The only thing I would say on that is, if it's a German club, they normally do insist on an obligation or an option to buy the player. That's not to say Spurs have got to agree to that, but do you think for Mikey, what would be the best place for him, T? Do you think it would be a Championship high-end, or dare I say, can we get him a Premier League loan? Obviously, he done quite well at Rangers last season, but you look at this pre-season for Mikey, hasn't quite worked out for him, has it?
No, it hasn't. I mean, the fact that again, we don't know what's true and what isn't, but if we are believing that he's saying he would rather a move to one of the top 5 leagues, I mean, of course, we all want to play at the very highest level, whatever we do for a living. Personally, I think staying in England and playing in the Championship, which is, arguably the toughest, not with the level or whatever, but, with the promotion from the Championship to the Premier League being the biggest prize in sport, I would have thought that's a perfect environment for a young boy like that to go and ply his trade. For me, that would be the better move. To go to Germany, they do so well with a lot of English players who go over to Germany. They develop them really well. I'm not sure about. He just hasn't looked like the same player since he got injured. When he was ill for a long time. Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you, mate. He was ill for a long time, and we weren't really sure what was wrong with him. Again, I think that there's more to Mikey's situation than we know. I wish him well. I don't think he's a Tottenham player. I don't think Sarr is a Tottenham player. I don't think Bergvall is a Tottenham player. I don't think Solomon is a Tottenham player. Again, we have to understand what it is that we're trying to do. Again, the enormity of the task to go from, we're trying to say, can we rise 12, 13 positions in one season? You're talking about, turning a Skoda into a Porsche, so there is just no room for.
That's why we've missed him.
Right. For unwanted sentiments.
Yeah.
I'm sure for the most part, these are all nice boys. For the most,
of course,
maybe
of course,
some of them
course.
aren't, but most of them are. So we wish them well, but ciao. We need to move on, and I think Mikey is one of those players, in my opinion.
As you finish there saying ciao, I'm going to go to João, and that's João Sousa. We're hearing suggestions that João Sousa is nearing a move to Porto, with Benfica also pursuing the Brazilian. It's as Porto have acted quickly to overtake Benfica, who have lodged a fee in the region of 20 million to get the player. I mean, we've barely seen him play a minute for Tottenham in terms of the Premier League. So, look, they might end up there, whether they're going to make the money back or slightly under. I think based on, obviously, the options we've now got at fullback, probably for João, either a loan or a permanent deal might make sense. But I want to ask you, Marlon, the one thing that's obviously been casted around the few days is that De Zerbi dropped that word "bomba" in that press conference a few days ago, and has kind of reeled back on it in the last few days. I mean, I think they are, like Jason said earlier, I think they are going to try and bring 2 or 3 in the door. And I want to close with Jason to, again, explain just how difficult that's going to be in terms of the options that are out there. But do you think, Marlon, does someone like a Cody Gakpo, does he fit what De Zerbi would want to bring to Tottenham in terms of the wingers at the moment? They've been heavy linked with Marmoush as well. Savinho, look, just for Jason's benefit, there is no update on Savinho. So it'd be pointless to sit here and speculate. There is no update on Savinho. But just on Gakpo, if that's the profile that they're deciding on, being another one of those key attackers, is he going to really move the dial for you based on what we've already got? Is he better than Tel, Odebear? Does he work with Kudus, for example, on the other wing? What do you think?
He's better than what we've got. And that's how I look at it. Overall, he's better than what we've got, and he's known for goals. And if you go and look at the past 3 seasons, yes, last season wasn't his best. Still managed to still score more goals than most of our players in a side that was struggling last year in Liverpool, which Slot completely changed it. If you go look at the 2 seasons before that,
I've got them here. He scored 16 goals in the 23-24 season before netting 18, providing 6 assists in the 24-25 season. So those stats are no Marlon.
And that's the reason why, for me, it's a case of it's a no-brainer. We need goals in this team, and I'm not sitting there relying, like as we spoke about earlier, I'm not relying on Solanke and Richarlison to get them, which is the indictment where we are at the moment, that we can't even rely on our 2 strikers to be put them in the back of the net. As I pointed out earlier, all our number 10s and all of that are all creative or all out injured until God knows when. So he's one of those players that, he won't be pretty on the eye, but as long as he's in that box scoring goals, that's all we need right now. And that's where I'm at. I'm not saying he's the one who's going to push the needle and move it. He's just what we need right now because of the way the market is.
Yeah. And just as we're actually talking, it's understood that Vicario is moving up the pecking order for Juventus, so maybe that deal might be closer than we first expected. Jace, we're going to close with you. Jace, again, we've said this often, there's players that need to move out before maybe we bring players in. Is that what you feel is going to be the case? Do you think we do need to get maybe the likes of Sarr, whether it is Sousa, whether it is Mikey, maybe just getting them loans, getting these players out so new players can come in? Do you think that might affect how quickly we can bring other forwards into the club? De Zerbi said 2 or 3. What do you think?
Sousa and Mikey, not particularly so, because they're under 21s, but Sarr, Romero, Vicario, Solomon, and then, to then create more spaces, you're talking about having to make a decision then on the people like Decky. Do you just wait for him to get fit, or do you say, look, sorry, Decky, you're using up the space, and, will we know that by the time the window goes? So, but there has to be outs, that's for sure. Has to be.
Are you confident though by the Brentford game? Would you hope there's a number forward in before then, based on what you've seen so far this pre-season?
I think we'll have one in by Brentford, at least one in by Brentford. But what the team looks like on the 10th of September or whatever is entirely different.
Yeah, I think you're right what you're saying about Decky.
We need goals, don't we, in the team?
Oh,
it's
100%.
Not just the strikers. I mean, if you think about it, without talking about the quality of the players, even in recent seasons, Sonny got goals from wides. As poor as everyone used to talk about Brennan Johnson, he got 18 in a season from wide. And yet we have players in the team. I mean, Kudus, people say, Kudus will come back fit. Kudus is never going to be a 12, 13 goals in a season type player, is he?
He was in his first season at West Ham, wasn't he? I mean, in his first season at West Ham, he did contribute.
Did he get that many?
I think he was up there in terms of definitely assists for West Ham. He was up
Yeah,
there.
he's an assister, not a scorer.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, speaking of Decky,
Gerard
scores
Bowen
goals.
provides
He
most of their
scores,
goals, doesn't he? From
but is he going to be fit?
This is the problem, Cheese. I think with Decky, nobody really knows, do they?
No.
It's really in the balance with Decky. I think we're going to have to wait and see with Decky. It's a shame because I think we all know there's a player in there. It's whether we
He
can
does
just
score as well, Rick. He scores.
Of course. Yeah. But it's not known, isn't it?
I think Liverpool will want somebody in before they allow Gakpo to go.
Right.
Out. I would say that. But the absolute tosh that people talk about Man City needing to sign a replacement. They signed a replacement 6 months ago. He signed Semenyo. Why are people thinking Manchester City need to sign a replacement? They don't. They brought Semenyo 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Well, 8 months ago now.
I think we've said with Savinho, by the fact that he's on tour with Man City and that he's starting games, I think it goes as every indication that no move is really close for Savinho. I think as much as people want it to be close, he's still a Man City player. He's still starting games for them, and he's out on tour. So if it was anywhere near really being close, he wouldn't be there, would he? We have to be honest and say that.
What I said to you 2 or 3 days ago when you told everyone the night before he'd handed in a transfer request. I told you it was bollocks then. He hasn't handed in a transfer request. He wouldn't be on tour if he'd handed in a transfer request.
Here we go. Take it up with Fab, will you?
Stop with these Savinho update on the bottom of the screen every night. I'm bored of it.
Listen, I want to say a massive thank you to a wonderful guest. It had to end in that way because it always does. My thanks to the ever brilliant Jason McGovern. Jason, thank you so much. We'll put Jason back in the cupboard now. We'll bring him back out for Getafe next week, where hopefully we're a week closer to knowing and understanding what De Zerbi's team's going to look like. Honestly, Jason, as always, mate, an absolute pleasure. Miles, thank you. Jason, what do you want to say?
I was just going to say, Rick, I'm a little bit concerned that we're actually running out of friendlies. There are so many players that haven't kicked a ball or been involved. That Hoffenheim weekend, one lot will play on the Saturday, one lot will play on the Sunday. There's only Getafe before that. So I think you're going to go into a season where there's a hell of a lot of players won't be anywhere near physically ready. None of them will have, a lot of them won't have played anywhere near 90 minutes in a game. But Mickey Van de Ven, what they're going to give him? 45 minutes, Getafe, 65 v Hoffenheim. It's a big step straight into 90 minutes.
But I thought
Madison, none of them will have played 90 minutes.
I thought what we said was, though, we thought we were going to have the advantage over the teams because we would have more players that were going to be available. But you're just not sure, Jace, now.
No, I can see them putting in behind closed doors between that Getafe and Hoffenheim, just to get some of these players that haven't featured at all minutes, even if it's an under-21 game and they allow 6 or 7 of them to play.
Well, if it is, it will be live on Spurs, which means we'll be back again. Sorry, Jason. Sorry, Mark. Sorry, Teach. The Saturdays are taking a battering now between now till September. But honestly, guys, thank you so much as always. Jason, you're a start. Marlon, thank you, mate. Like I say, 9th season, but your 3rd full season in and not looking a day younger since he started. God, if only I wish I could say the same on that. I want to close. Tej, mate, I don't know if you want to say, Tej, there's been so much love for you on your return to the show and the live broadcast. So much love for you, mate. Loving to have you back with us here, Tej, and what's going to be a very massive, big season, hopefully in store, and a lot more success than what it has been the last couple of seasons. I know we won a European trophy before. Yes, we won a European trophy. We're just mean domestically, hopefully it'll be a bit more of a better time for us all. And it's lovely to have you back.
It's wonderful to be back. Thank you ever so much. And genuinely to all the viewers and the listeners, I've seen all the comments. I'm enormously grateful. I'm humbled by the love and support. I reciprocate it in full. Again, to these lovely gentlemen, I've missed your gorgeous faces and your fabulous voices and your wonderful insights.
Are you sure Jason's on the show?
And honestly, thank you so much, man. I've missed you guys. I love you a lot. And I shall see you again soon. Thank you
Diamond,
so much.
Tej, thank you so much. And it will be, I can just say, it will be a lot more short in terms of the time length. Blame me.
Absolutely.
We completely went over with the De Zerbi press comments, but I thought it was really important to bring the context of De Zerbi's presser in there. But listen, my thanks to actor T. Jeremy back on the scene. My thanks to Marlon. My thanks to Jason. And look, Tottenham beaten Chelsea during pre-season. 2 goals to 1. A Richarlison late winner. What's his future going to mean for him? We'll have to see him more from us all. Please keep safe, keep well. And as always,